Hey everyone, welcome back to Stars of the Diamond. My name is Rhett, and today we're going to be going over some non-sports card pickups I was able to pick up recently. And pretty big, a lot of them, so we're not going to kind of tarry too long. But I kind of wanted to start, I guess I'll start with the N cards. So if you don't know what these are 19th century tobacco cards. Okay, and so the first one we got here is one of the first, hard to see on the back, but this is one of the first Allen and Ginter issues that they ever made. And this is a late, so early in the period, late in the period. This one was for a long time cataloged as a T card, but it has now been reassigned to the N's. So those are kind of two to start. One of my personal favorite sets that they ever made. I know the N2 Allen and Ginter Native American chiefs get a lot of love, but this set I feel like is just as good. It is called the Savage and Semi-Barbarous Chiefs and Rulers. And this is an interesting set because it does include quite a few Native Americans, but it also includes rulers from different parts of the world, which, politically incorrect for today, were considered to be savage or semi-barbarous. And so this is a really tough set to find, much tougher than the N2s, but not as many people collect them. And this was essentially the N2 version made by Kimball instead of Ginter. So we've got some N189s, I believe are what these are called. I have this whole set. A few of these are upgrades for me, so I'll probably have a few of those in my eBay store. And if you aren't already following me on my eBay store, my name is KRY Vintage, or my store is called Stars of the Diamond. And a lot of things that I get in these lots, some of them I needed, some are duplicates, some I just bought for resale. So, look at my store. I'm going to be having some of these kind of showing up. These are kind of predating the tobacco cards made by Allen and Ginter. These are trade cards for Pet cigarettes, and Pet was kind of out of favor pretty much by the time most of the cigarette cards were being made. But these are kind of fun ones. You can pick these up sometimes pretty cheap. There's a lot of different issues made by Ginter in the trade card field that haven't been as heavily cataloged or anything. So here's kind of an interesting set. These look like the N152 Dukes, but these are harder to find, and they were made by Kinney Tobacco for their Sporting Extra cigarettes. And these ones are considered N246s, and they can be pretty tough to find. And next was a group of Miscellaneous, and we got an N145 here. We got a N215. We have some N488 Yum Yums. There's a regular Yum Yum Actress, N89 Duke, and one of the Duke cigarettes. So nothing super special there, just a couple cards that were, something I wanted to pick up. We got a few, nothing special here, but we got a few larger size Duke issues. Their larger size is typically included with Honest Long Cut, kind of like this one because it's got the puppy with the girl there. So that one was kind of, I think, the one card in there that I thought was cooler than the others. And the next group, these are kind of cool. These are N115s, and these are actually books. And so you, instead of a cigarette card, you got these, and these are cataloged, but this was actually a book that could be found in your package of cigarettes or tobacco. And yeah, it was considered to be a library, so a mini book. And these can be found with Honest. Gale and Axe also had them, and I believe Virginia Cheroots also had these as well. And yeah, so there's the Gale and Axe brand. So that's the same set of, I think, 25 books can be found with the 3 different brands, with the Honest being the most common, Gale and Axe second, and the Virginia Cheroots are pretty tough. And then the last is just kind of a more obscure tobacco company. I think I needed one or two of these girls for this U.S. tobacco company. But nothing super special there. But those are the end cards that I was able to kind of pick up recently. And then we'll move on to the T cards. And a lot of people think that T cards are called T cards because they are tobacco. But that is not true. T is for 20th, because N is 19th century, and in reality, N wasn't in the original catalog. But that's for another day. T actually, in this case, T refers to 20th century tobacco as opposed to 19th century tobacco, which is N. So these are pretty cool. These are also essentially books. And these are T307, and they were made, I'll pick one out because you can't really see it unless you open it, but you can see that these were made for insertion into cigarettes by the American Tobacco Company. So large series of booklets, and they're kind of thick, you know, they're small, kind of, you know, like a Hassan tobacco card, like a T53 size or so. And I got quite a few of those. I have some. I might have a few duplicates. I really like this one, though, the football. Aaron Lockett's Gridiron Gloat. I think that's the key book, at least from subject matter. But there's, you know, quite a few of those. Kind of a fun set here. These are... Oh, I missed some end cards, so I'll have some more end cards to share. So these are T106, and these are State Girls. And so State Girl series. And these can be found with 3 different brands. So we have Perfection, Fatima or Fatima, and then the rarest. And Fatima's on regular thickness. Perfection's thinner, like almost paper thin. And then the rarest one... I think I got one in this group. Yeah, right here. The rarest back in this series is the Richmond Straight Cut. So those typically sell for multiples of what the other ones do. I haven't seen a big difference in the price between Perfection and Fatima. But that's a fun series. 25 different State Girls with the, you know, what they would, the motto of the state there. So, anyways. That's those. Here's some more N cards. These are N for, what are these? N for, it's kind of a 438. I don't know why I was thinking 488, but 438 Toddy cigarettes. And kind of lower grade ones down here, but there was 1 or 2 up top. These 2 top ones that were in decent condition, and the price was right on them, and I think I needed a few of those. Some N151s, nothing super special there. These are fun cards, though. Lots and lots of different, you know, subjects found in that. And then these ones are one of my favorite series. These are T26. So T25 is the Between the Acts male actors, the black border series. And those are pretty common. But the N, and those date to about 1910. Now these N or T26 cards are from later, or earlier, sorry. These are from earlier. These are 1902, 1903. Kind of a weird time period to be making an American Tobacco Company series. And the T26s are way, way harder to find than the T25s. Orders of magnitude harder. Okay, 25 cards can be found in this ribbon style, and 25 cards in this series making up 50 can also be found with a dotted circular, almost oval picture on the front. And this grouping was just the ribbons. And so T26, if you see those at kind of typical 20th century tobacco card prices, pick them up, because these tend to sell for quite a bit. And yeah, just a fun series. Really hard ones to find, though. Tough series to complete if you ever do that. And so those are our T cards. And I think I have one or two, yeah, just one more. Here's a kind of a tougher type. And this is from slightly later, but the Royal Bengal kind of high number teas, you know, T10 whatevers, tend to be pretty tough. So kind of a tougher type there. So thought that was a cool one. Next we will do some, oh, here's some more teas. So these ones are what are called T400 pluses. So give a little history. The American Tobacco Company, essentially, or what had been Duke Cigarettes, formed the American Tobacco Company by buying all of its competitors, or nearly all of its competitors, and conglomerating into one giant company. So by the early 1890s, they no longer had to advertise in the United States because they had a monopoly. However, the American Tobacco Company did not continue having a monopoly in other countries. And so largely in Europe, the Middle East, you know, Asia, places like that, Australia, they were continuing to make American Tobacco Company products shipped over there. And there they were competing against other companies, other countries, and things like that. So they were continuing to make cards, but that period from early 1890s to 1908, 1909, when the T series really kind of picked up, the reason they weren't making anything during that 10, 15-year period was because they had a monopoly. They didn't have to. However, these cards were being made during that time period by an American company for another country. Largely. And so you can see these tend to have American Tobacco Company brands on the back. And some of these you can see, this is essentially an N card up here. And it's on thick paper just like you would expect an N card, like a Duke Cigarettes card, but it's made by the American Tobacco Company. So this one is actually dated from the World's Fair 1893. So this is a T400 card. But it's right after what would be considered an N card. And so these cards, I don't know that they get a lot of, you know, publicity and everything, but they are American Tobacco Company cards. And so these are what were being made during the 1890s and early 1900s. And anyways, there's just a lot of miscellaneous types of that. So kind of cool. This set here has a really early Winston Churchill card, if you can find that. That one tends to bring a pretty penny if you can find it, but keep your eye out for that. But considered T400 plus, and they are cataloged in the American Tobacco and the ACC. Next group, we'll go over maybe some, we'll do some Canadian cards. So I grew up in Maine, and, you know, I think growing up in Maine, you gain partial Canadian status. But so I don't collect British, I don't really collect South American or anything like that cards, but I do collect American cards and Canadian cards. I feel like they're pretty interlinked, and you know, OPG cards I grew up with as a kid and stuff like that. If you were lucky, you could find those in stores. So I've always had a soft spot for Canadian cards. So I pick those up when I can. Now, Canadian gum cards and e-cards are called V cards. And so that's what we have here. These are gum cards. And these ones, instead of being made by Gum Incorporated, were made, you know, printed in Canada. So that's how you can tell that these are not the American counterparts, which I think would be the Uncle Sam cards. These ones are Empire Defenders, and orders of magnitude harder to find. So much tougher to find these versus kind of the Uncle Sam cards or the Gum Incorporated cards. But kind of just cool ones. I like them. This is just a miscellaneous Canadian card lot. So all different, you know, types. So we got some Native Americans here. We got some Parkhurst cards. I think this is a Harry Horn. Papoose. Sorry, Canadian chewing gum. And then we got some more here. There's the Harry Horn ones that was kind of the same series. It's the T29's. They remade those years later in Canada. And so these are just different Canadian types. Nielsen's Chocolate was a Canadian outfit, made baseball cards. Cracker Jack, made by the Lowney Company in Montreal. So just some different Canadian types. These are small Nielsen's, just like the T85 stroller cigarettes. These ones were made by Nielsen's. And some more Canadian types. That's kind of a cool one. I love me some Ripley's Believe It or Not. And that's a Parkhurst card. And got comic characters up here. And the last few of the Canadian types. So nothing super special in there, but I collect all those sets. So needed significant number of those. But again, a lot of these cards I'm going over in my video today are going to be available in my eBay store in the coming weeks. We'll go over a lot here. This was just a large lot of T12 to T14 bridge favors and all different series. This was probably the coolest one, having actual actors' heads on there. And some of them you can kind of pick out, some of them you can't. Then we've got some sort of generic, you know, usually country themed bridge favors. And bridge was a really popular, you know, obviously card game, it still is, but it's really popular at the time. And these were to help you play the game. I like these ones as well with the actual famous, there's Jean Harlow, that one's in rough shape, but with the Lucky Strike Douglas Fairbanks. So this was just a miscellaneous lot of those, and the price was right, so pick those up. I'm not sure which ones I need or don't. And then we got here, this is kind of a cool one. One of my favorite brands of chocolate, if you're a chocolate person, is Ghirardelli. And so these were made by Ghirardelli in, you know, the 1920s or so. And they are male in different countries and with some examples of the stamps of those countries, trying to capitalize on the popularity of stamp collecting back in the day. And this is a set of, there's 48 different in this set, and this is probably 30 or 40 of the cards from that set. So kind of a nice little start to a collection of those. And these are cataloged as E163. So these are E cards because they were made with chocolate. And again, E cards, the E stands for early. Early gum and candy. And R cards are recent gum and candy, because at the time Burdick was writing the American card catalog, recent was, you know, 1930s and above. He got some dates wrong and stuff like that on some of the sets, but that's why things are E versus R. And I do have a video where I briefly go over the American card catalog. Fun one to look at if you are interested in that. It can be a little dry if you're not, but here is another E card, ET245, and this is Shotwell Candy, or manufacturing company in Chicago. And this was for a Mabel Normand movie called Molly O. And Shotwell cards are pretty tough to find. And this one was graded and it was cheap. So I think I need that one. I have about 20 or 30 from this set, which don't come up very often. So I kind of pick them up whenever I can. And probably one of the cooler things, these are by Pico or Pecco Candy. And these are candy cigarettes. And these ones are kind of flattened full boxes. A lot of times now you'll just find just the card that was intended to be kind of cut out. But I thought these ones were really cool because these ones still have the candy cigarettes in them. And you can kind of see these have Camel cigarettes. And if we can get one of these open, you can see that there's still the nearly now 100-year-old candy cigarettes in here that you could they don't look very appetizing. I don't think they looked very appetizing even for back in the day, but I think it's kind of funny they put the pink on the edge to look like it had been lit. But so yeah, there's still the candy in those, so I thought those were pretty awesome, having the candy still present. And then you got your battleship or your airplane on the back. And so yeah, I have 2 of those, so most likely one of those at minimum will be available in my eBay store. And again, that's if you're just kind of watching this portion. My eBay store is KRY Vintage, or my store is called Stars of the Diamond. And this, I believe, is just a miscellaneous e-card lot. So we've got Little Wilbur. That is an e-card. This one here, I believe, opens up, or maybe she's missing her head or something like that. It doesn't look like it's all there. Yeah, so this is a Kiss Me chewing gum. Looks like she's missing her hat, but that's like a little paper doll. We've got Hershey's company. So one of the reasons Hershey became really popular is they used to put these faux postcards. I mean, they were real postcards. You could send these. I do find these sent. But they would put these postcards of the city of Hershey, Pennsylvania in their chocolates, because this was about the size of the chocolate bar at the time. And these, I believe, are cataloged as E257. And they would put these in the chocolate. And a lot of times what it would be doing is actually just advertising the city of Hershey, Pennsylvania. And so it popularized the city, and it made that sort of a destination and almost like this mythical place where they made magical chocolate. But yeah, these were inserted for years in the Hershey's chocolate bars. And yeah, kind of cool, kind of underappreciated cards. Not really all that hard to find, although even when I pick up new ones, I'm even now, after all these years, still picking up ones that, wow, I have never seen that particular card before. But I thought that was kind of cool. And Zeno chewing gum, and this is a postcard. And I'm not sure if this was, inserted in gum or if it was, just a giveaway. And here is some other e-cards, just miscellaneous. And here we got Teddy Roosevelt, kind of in the corner there. And this is kind of a tougher E-set. And it's called Teddy's Trophies by the American Caramel Company. And this one's obviously like hand cut or trimmed at the minimum, but those ones tend to be pretty tough ones to find. We've got here another American caramel, Wild West caramels. There's a Native American, and we've got Kindig's chocolate from Lititz, Pennsylvania. There's different flags. We've got Wilbur chocolate, Soldiers of the World. This is World War I, obviously. Yeah, Soldiers of the Allies. So there was 6 different people on the set, and you were told to kind of cut out around the picture and kind of fold it down and make a stand-up little toy soldier. But that's what that one is, and that's obviously a little doughboy from America. We've got Brody Novelty Company. These are like the cash-in cards, same set, but these ones have advertising on the back. And then we have a Kiss Me chewing gum. Little card of a shoemaker. We got a cobbler there. And we'll put these over here, and then we'll go over these ones. These ones are probably the most recent ones I picked up. But this is a set, like one of the last sets made by the Exhibit Supply Company. And they feature custom cars. And they're dated, I think, 1972 on the back. Yeah, 1972 Exhibit Supply Company. And these are like George Barris cars, like some of the early Red Line Hot Wheels. Like there's the Red Baron, some of the things like that. Kind of a really cool set. But I love that stuff. I grew up with those, Red Line Hot Wheels. and like the Barris Customs. But my favorite card in that set, so you can see all these other ones, my favorite card is the Easy Rider. And pretty cool one. I like that one a lot. But that's just a full set of the Exhibit Supply Company. I don't know if that's 32, I think it is. Different cards, but kind of a fun little set there. Then we'll go into some R's and, you know, more recent stuff. Here is a really early Bazooka Atom Gum wrapper, and on the back of this like kind of foily wrapper is a kind of like one of the first real attempts by Topps to make cards. And these are cataloged, but kind of a cool one. Really hard to find just because obviously they're the wrapper. And we've got, speaking of wrapper, here's a Orbit Gum Tattoo Gum. And this one is the wrapper, but inside the wrapper is a card, or, you know, a cataloged scene. So this is Sailing Craft used by South Sea Islanders. And numbered 3, so intended to be collected, but tough to find because they are part of wrappers. And these are little boxes of candy that when you unfolded them formed little soldiers of the world. And these are an R series, so a bunch of those are going pretty cheap. Kind of tough to find. These are, I believe, Samoset chocolates. Yeah, Samoset chocolates, and these are postcards. And this one you can see was used in 1916 from Rochester, New York. So I think these were inserted in boxes of chocolate. This was Necco, or New England Confectionery Company. Made Lennox chocolates and had these little bookmark-like things kind of in there. And then these ones are kind of cool. These are from Lefferts Candy, and these you could fold to make a train. And so on the back you can see Lefferts Novelty Company of Brooklyn, New York, and you would get candy in here. You can see there's the ingredients for the candy. So inside, this was essentially, this train car was the box of candy. And when you got it home, and you could then have the train car as sort of like your prize. And here we got a cattle car. We've got a passenger car, and looks like our hopper with the coal. So kind of cool. All again, the Lefferts Novelty Company. They made a lot of them, and Leader Novelty made a lot of different like boxes like this. And into the 50s, you got the Novel Candy Company. And maybe just a few other things to share. And these are just kind of miscellaneous slightly later. I guess these would be like an uncatalogued E series, but they're stamps, but they were inserted in Powell's Kewpie candies, and obviously those are little Kewpie dolls. So anyway, it's kind of cool. I think that's the whole set. I don't think they only made a couple of them. Some naked babies there. Little Kewpie dolls. And so this is, I think, a complete or nearly complete set of West Coast Mother's cookies. But these are sports cars. So we've got some pretty cool ones. We got a Ferrari, an Austin Healey, MG, we got a Corvette, we got a Thunderbird, we got a Jaguar, Volkswagen down here. So kind of a cool, you know, man, I'd love to have some of these cars in real life. I can only imagine what these go for these days. Aston Martin down here at the bottom, Bugatti. Yeah, some really cool, what would have been considered like European, mostly, I mean there's Corvettes and stuff in here, but mostly European sports cars from the 1950s. And these date to and are the same size and everything as the 1952, 1953 baseball cards. They also made some actors and TV stars and stuff like that. Mother's Cookies did. These are also our cards, and these are the back of boxes of Big Alarm candy. And I think it was actually the front was like this with the 5 cents on it, and then the back was like this, or maybe it's vice versa, but they together made a box of candy, and this is sort of front and back panels of them, but tough to find. And this is just, I think, the Frostic set. I think this is a whole set. I have most of this, but I think a few upgrades were in here, so I might have a lot of these going on my eBay store. And I think I'll end with this. This was, so we saw the tattoo chewing gum, which is Orbit gum. And so this was the same company, and they made surprise photograph cards. And so very similar to the 1948 Topps set. In 1933, 34, they made 2 different series of these surprise photos, and these came blank. You would either spit on the card or you would wet the front, and then you'd hold it up to the sun and the card would develop. And the tattoo company, or Orbit Gum Company, they made a series of actors and a series of baseball players. And the baseball players are tougher to find than the actors, but this is an album with a bunch of the actors in it. And so you can see there's a non-mustachioed Clark Gable there, Lionel Barrymore, kind of tough to see the names, Norma Shearer, I believe, Helen Hayes. See if some of these other pages have some more easily recognizable. Joan Bennett down here, Claudette Colbert, Lee Tracy. There's the schnoz himself, Jimmy Durante. But this is just a series of that with a bunch of the actors in it, and in pretty nice shape. And this was, for a song that didn't cost very much. It was at auction, so it was going so cheap I had to pick it up. But yeah, that was my recent pickups in the non-sports card world, and pretty fun stuff. I really enjoy the non-sports a lot. I didn't used to, but I do now. It's just a really inexpensive way comparatively to sports cards to, have a collection, feel like you're completing something without breaking the bank. And, if you're a completionist, collecting baseball cards is hard, especially really early vintage cards, because, a common in the set may be, $100, $500, whereas you can find a rare E-series of cards like these Ghirardellis, and you can pick up a card for $15, $20 each. And so a set of 48 can be expensive, but it's kind of a lifelong pursuit. And, some of the T cards, especially like the T59 flags or something like that, you can pick those up for a couple bucks a piece, maybe even $1 a piece, and, put together a set of 200 of those for $200. And, that would be one baseball card, in decent condition from the T206 set, which was distributed at the exact same time. So, if you're a completionist and you're a baseball card collector or a sports card collector and you're getting frustrated because you can't complete, think about doing some non-sports stuff. That's kind of how I got into it, and I've really kind of fallen in love with them. But at this point right now in my collecting, I do a lot of the non-sports, but still my first and true love is the sports cards. And again, if you haven't already visited my eBay store, it's KRY Vintage, or the store is called Stars of the Diamond. Find me on there. If you have any questions about any cards that you may have, if you want a no obligation, offer, or if you want to just get some information, I'm not here to make money. I'm here to just kind of help out. I love the people that view my videos, and I thank you guys so much for continuing to subscribe to my videos. If you haven't already done so, great idea to do that. Put that notification on. And yeah, thanks for sharing this with me, you guys. And as always, happy collecting.